So, welcome to this new video. I'm sitting here with the new CEO of Zero Motorcycles, Pierre-Martin Bos. Is that correct?
Bos.
Bos, okay, Pierre-Martin Bos. And I just mentioned you're the new CEO. And if we take a look at the German motorcycle market, it was like a really tough year, 2025. So if you're looking at the electronic motorcycle branch, are you concerned of the future?
No. We're optimistic because also this year we sold more than last year. I think it depends also on the offer that you do in terms of electric. We don't want to define ourselves necessarily electric because of sustainability or economy. We sell electric bikes because we believe it's the best experience that you can get from a bike, the purest one. And therefore our customers, especially on the what we call the FST range, so the DSRX, the high power range, they come because we are Zero, because we offer them a different experience. So it's not so much about electric, but it's also true that there is this focus on the electric, also depending on the passenger cars industry. And last year there was a drop in Germany because there were less incentives. People were not looking at the electric market, globally speaking, in the same way. This year there are incentives again, and I think that also helps the EV motorcycle industry to grow because people see that as a real alternative to a combustion engine.
You mentioned the different models that Zero is offering at the moment and the acceptance as well. And I think acceptance is particularly difficult because in my understanding, the motorcycle audience, the motorcycle buyers are a special kind of personality. What do you think is necessary to increase the acceptance for electronic or electric motorcycles in the average standard motorcycle buyer group?
I think for me it's down to having people testing the products, because we could argue, we can speak about the range, but the range we have is enough for 85% of the drivers, of the riders today. So I would say if this was the criteria, we could appeal to 85% of the customers today. So it's not the main issue. We could speak about price, but today we see in the industry some bikes that can be very expensive. Mm-hmm. So I think it's more what the customers, let's say, understand from the electric use. And again, for me also, when I entered the company, or even before, when I tested, I was convinced, because you reconcentrate yourself on the pure riding, mm-hmm. On experiencing the atmosphere. So that's a different experience, and this is what we need to make sure people understand. So we need to find a way with events like this one, mm-hmm. to pass the message to the customers that there is an alternative, and that by driving electric, they get a completely different experience.
Okay. You mentioned the experience you gather while you're riding an electric motorcycle, which is obviously mostly focused on emotions that needs to be transported while I'm riding. Especially if I have a look at the Northern Europe market or German market, I guess 95% of the riders do it only for fun, leisure time purpose. So almost no commuting, just for pure emotions and pure fun. So what is maybe the thing we can learn from the automotive industry or the car industry, where you already mentioned that the acceptance is growing? What can the motorcycle industry learn from the four-wheel sector to improve acceptance?
I think in the passenger car industry, what happened is that there was a lot of focus probably on range anxiety. Mm-hmm. Today we can buy a passenger car with 200 kilometers real range, and people don't complain about that because they know that if it's about commuting every day, they commute 30 kilometers back and forth, so it's like 60 kilometers. They know they don't need a big battery, they don't need a big car, so they are learning today. Obviously price helps, also price democratization. So for example, when we launched the scooter at 5,200 euros, we are on a price that is acceptable, also very much so, because anyway you will recover from the cost of electricity. You have the practicality also, because people who use passenger cars today, EV, they can charge at home, yeah. So they don't have to go anymore to the fuel station, they don't have to think. They go to the office, often they can also charge there. So it's very easy to use. You get also more time, you get less tired,
Yeah.
because you don't get vibrations, and that's common to passenger cars and motorcycles. I think we need to provide anyway a product that is at the right level
Yeah.
for the people to buy it without thinking about incentives or things like that, because this is just
Yeah.
pushing the market. But I think we need to define the right product, and we need to we need to educate customers ourselves.
Yeah.
And I think in that maybe we haven't done enough yet, because it costs a lot, to be honest, to do that, but also because yes, we need to use every opportunity that we find to evangelize, let's say, this use of electric vehicles.
Yeah, yeah. You were mentioning the commuting distance that the regular car user needs today to do every day to get to work and back. If I consider like the German motorcycle audience, and maybe also if I have a look to North America, I mean, you're like the CEO of Zero, so all your ideas and conclusions must be on an international scale. If I take a look at the Northern American market, for example, where you have like wide distances to cover if you're traveling, if you want to meet your relatives. The GS driver, for example, who is like referring to have, I don't know, 350 kilometers plus of range. Is there? Do you consider this as something that needs to be addressed to get in contact with the regular motorcycle rider at the moment? Not the new ones that maybe come up from electric bicycles, but like the standard ones. And is there?
I think so. I think the GS driver is a good example.
Yeah.
Because we get this idea that it's the adventure bike that can go everywhere, and that's what we get with our DSRX. I think we need to be careful when we ride bikes. Apart again from the commuting business, with the commuting pattern, which for example in Paris you have a lot of that. But globally speaking, you ride a motorcycle because you want to have fun.
Yeah.
So when I ride, and I have 4 motorcycles today, of which 2 Zero. Let's say I have another one that I kept because my son doesn't want me to
Sell it?
to get rid of them. And the longest I've driven on one shot was 250 kilometers, because then anyway I reached the end of the tank.
Yeah.
And you do that usually on highways, because 250 kilometers you need to drive fast if you don't want to get hurt, let's say, and you need to get some rest. When you do that, you miss probably what is also the mission of the motorcycle. It's about discovery.
Yeah.
And what I do usually with my son when I go is that we ride for an hour and a half. We stop somewhere because we want to have a quick lunch, or we want to be able to discuss, we want to go around. And most of the uses that should be that. So if you have in mind to take a motorcycle to drive during your day, 700 kilometers, 800 kilometers, because you need to go from A to B.
Yeah.
That can happen,
Yeah.
because you want to go around Europe. How many do that really? And it's nice if we have people doing that.
Yeah.
But how many even people who do that
Yeah.
wouldn't be able to do it with a bike that can do 200 kilometers, stop 1 hour, get another 200 kilometers? That's the journey in a way that I think we should focus on.
Yeah.
And I don't see there are not so many people going on vacation with their motorcycles. So it's about enjoying, let's say, the stops in a different way than we would do with very specific riders who go very far.
I see. So let's have a look at a bit of the future of Zero. If we consider Stark, for example, who did a very great job with their enduro / motocross or sumo bike, and surprisingly, although that it's such a rough target group, the off-road community, the bike has a very high acceptance, and turns out at the moment that this is a go-to way for the motocross in future. Less pollution in terms of noise, in terms of exhaust, obviously. So is there, as you have the XE already in program, can we expect more off-road oriented bikes like these models? This is
Not really in the sense that we think with XC and XB we offer the right zero DNA. That means certain level of performance, easy to ride, access bike, let's say to electric, and we think that that's our future. The brand you mentioned, I think, does a good job. Very focused on one particular area where I think they really managed to give a strong acceptance to EVs. Our job, let's say at Zero, is to have 8 models and more in the future. So it's a different approach. We want to appeal to a bigger audience with very usable products by everybody. And again, I think the brand you mentioned did a great job. It's focused on one area. We want to be broader. We are today the leaders in the electric motorcycles. We want to keep being a leader and keep appealing to more and more customers.
last question to the product range. You already mentioned the new LS1 scooter, which is completely different to the motorcycles Zero built so far, and we need to consider the markets. Obviously, Germany is like a small market. If I look at to Asia, for example, where you have much more commuting, much more scooters, especially electric scooters. Is this like? Do you see the future in this area for electric mobility, two-wheeled mobility? Is this something we can expect more from Zero in terms of models?
So. Yes, in the sense that it's part of the expansion we want to explore. It's not defined 100% yet, but we think that there is a huge market there, and as Zero, and the fact that we want to appeal to more and more customers, that makes sense. It's also true that in the scooter industry, it's less about passion. There is a small area where you can be passionate about scooters, but it's not so much about the sound of your V4 engine or the vibration and all that. You prefer to have a quiet ride. You prefer to have a quiet ride with your passenger. You can discuss together. It's also maybe more. It could be more commuting in that case. So therefore, also if you save a bit of money by charging instead of putting fuel, it's also better. So I think that's where there is the biggest potential and the quickest potential of EV switch. Obviously with the right pricing as we have, but it will remain still a part of our business. We are in the high performance motorcycles. That's a question that, for example, we don't ask to the top 3 in the industries, being combustion or electric, because they're already in everywhere. Because that's what they are. They are generalists, sometimes premium. In our case, we are premium and we're in the EVs, but we want to make sure we can appeal to most of the customers in the industry.
Okay. So, unfortunately, I have one more question that just came
absolutely.
up. Could you describe like the average Zero user, the persona? How old is he? What's his income? Where is he living? To like get, as you mentioned, the premium factor of the brand. What is the average persona at the moment?
I would say the common characteristic is to be with people who want to ride often, if not every day. So they can be commuters, and they really see the electric as an advantage because they don't have to maintain the bike as often. They charge at home and they go, and so it's very easy for them. They're still passionate because they want to have high performance, because if not, they can find alternatives, cheaper, low performance, low battery. They recognize that we have a high range and therefore that they can really use the bike. After that, you have young, older, you have people with money, people with less money that probably invest in this instead of in a car. So there is no pattern. I think it's a bit like the motorcycle industry. We have various people. It's not like always the high revenue suit person. We have many different people, but the common point is that they are usually or they are users of motorcycles more than once a week, and they really see fun and practicality in using our bikes.
Okay, surprising, because the average German rider does like, I don't know, 2,000 to 3,000 kilometers per year, which is like, I don't know, every 4 weeks, a couple of 100 kilometers. So the general Zero user is much more into riding
For
than
me, yes.
the average.
And
average
that's
rider.
what we realized, and that was also funny, is in fact because we can also know at least how many kilometers have been driven when we get maintenance and it has been, I think, 265 million kilometers in the last 20 years. So our riders, they ride a lot and more than average because also from the fact that it's easy to jump in and out, they don't need to think that they left the bike for 3 months and then they need to go and do maintenance again. So I think they are really big riders, yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Fingers crossed that the brand and the sales will grow.
Thank you very
Looking
much.
forward to it, and especially looking forward to ride the new models as well.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.